The thing about special needs parents, like we were talking earlier, they know it's like, I don't have to put lipstick on the pig. We are like just real tired, stressed. Like we don't even have time to play the game. So talking to other special needs, not just parents, siblings, I mean, people with the experience, I just feel like there's that natural desire to help you. Like if you called me one day and you needed something, I want to give you value because I know that you're in this, like you're in this sphere. So I almost feel like there's this brotherhood and sisterhood of people, of parents when they get together and it's like, no, I want to help you. Like I have a feeling you're going through some stuff and I want to help.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Nourishing Autism Podcast. I'm your host, Brittyn Coleman, the autism dietitian, and I'm really looking forward to today's episode where I welcome in Marc Orem, who is the host of the Daily Autism Podcast, and he shares more about his experience as a father of an autistic child, Cal, and the motivation behind creating dailyautism.com. We talk about the challenges in finding autism resources online, and he shares his top resources for new and overwhelmed parents of autistic children that you might not think about, but can make your life so much easier. Our conversation covers the emotional and logistical challenges of raising an autistic child, the impact on the family, and managing daily life, including strategies for outings and maintaining family balance. I really appreciated this episode because Marc shared some really honest challenges and unexpected joys that I think you're really going to relate to. So let's dive into this episode together. Welcome, Marc, to the Nourishing Autism Podcast. This week, September 23rd to 29th, is National Diaper Need Awareness Week, and we are raising awareness with Aeroflow Urology about the diaper gap. Many U.S. families in diaper need simply cannot afford enough diapers to manage incontinence, which largely affects the autism and special needs community. Aeroflow Urology provides medical-grade continence care essentials like child pull-ups, adult briefs, bed pads, and more free through your insurance. See if your loved one qualifies in under 2 minutes by visiting aeroflowurology.com/nourishingautism. That's aeroflowurology.com/nourishingautism. And let them know I sent you. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Nourishing Autism Podcast. I am really excited today. I'm sitting down with Marc Orem. He is the podcast host of Daily Autism. Thank you so much, Marc, for being here.
Awesome to be here, Brittyn. Thank you.
Of course. Well, I would love for you to introduce yourself, share more about your podcast and your connection to autism.
Yeah. So my name's Marc. Like you said, I founded along with my wife, dailyautism.com. My son, Cal, he's our youngest of 5, was diagnosed just about 4 years ago. And so what I was doing, I think, is like a natural, curious dad in this new realm of autism was like, oh, I'm going to go online and I'm going to see what this is all about and everything. And what I found, honestly, was there wasn't a lot there. Like there just wasn't a lot for new parents and confused parents, soon to be tired and frustrated parents. It seemed like a lot of people had started, doing things around autism, but then it's like typical podcast, right? Like people start it and then they end it and there's not a lot there. So I just said, with my background being in media and radio, I said, let me do something, but I want to do it consistent. Like I'm going to show up every day. So, social media, social video, podcast, LinkedIn newsletters, the whole thing. And I'm going to try not to stop. I'm just going to try to keep going because it's not like autism was going to stop, right? Yeah. So I just said, let me just go and kind of build this media channel and see what happens.
Wait, so just so I heard you correctly, you publish a podcast every single day.
Well, so we started out doing that.
I was like, wow,
yes.
I do it every week and it's so hard to keep going.
Yeah. So we started doing that, realized, okay, but what we do, we do social videos every day. So every day there's videos on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. There's a bi-weekly newsletter on LinkedIn. So we show up every day. We have conversations every day. We launch content every day. Not all podcasts every day. Although we did go on a good run in the beginning. I think it was 15 or 17 days in a row. Yeah. And then I was like, I can't do this every day. So I gave it a shot then.
A lot of people don't realize all the production on the back end that it really takes to edit and publish and get the show notes and everything that it takes to get out there.
Well, I mean, how many emails and messages did we exchange going back and forth to this, right? It's a lot, and just the setup and the planning. And I also am a huge believer in social media, especially for these newer parents getting into it.
And so you talked about your son, Cal. You said he's now 5 years old and he was diagnosed 4 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, he's 7 and diagnosed 4 years. He just turned 7. Yeah.
He just turned 7. Okay, yeah. That makes more sense. Okay, well, talking about your journey with autism so far, and if you were familiar with autism, if this all was completely new, what did that look like for your family?
Yeah, it was interesting. So we were kind of going through the diagnosis, the process of diagnosis, like leading up to it during the pandemic. So it was kind of like the weirdest time in the world for everybody. And then this. And of course, that process of diagnosis was even more because it was masks and it was, a lot of cancellations and all of that. I mean, before we got to that point, really, it was just, I say this and I think to some people this resonates with, other people not so much, but Cal was there one day and then he wasn't, is kind of how I describe it. Just the eye contact, the playing, the laughing, and then it stopped. And so we started noticing certain benchmark delays, typical stuff you'd expect, I think, walking, talking, like I said, eye contact, even balancing and stuff. And we have 4 older kids, so we had a pretty good body of work to compare it to. It's not like we were first-time parents and like, I don't know, So yeah, so we went through that process. In Florida, they have a really good program called Early Steps. And so they come out before the child's 3 if you have a concern. And then they say either, no, it's not going to be something spectrum related, or we believe it is. And then, so obviously they did, and we went down that road. As far as my background with it before that, like I tell people, I saw Rain Man in 1989. And that's all, that's it, right? That's all I knew.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming autism looked very different than what you had in your head.
Yeah. Because like Rain Man, they went to the casino and made a lot of money once because they were betting because Raymond was really good with the numbers and the formulas. So we haven't been able to do that. I think that was the Hollywood part of it, maybe. Yeah. It's funny. So I went back and watched the movie about a year and a half ago, and I felt really weird. Not in a bad way, good way, because it was more like I could definitely identify with it, right? I could definitely identify with the movie as opposed to just being a guy watching the movie with no relationship to it. But yeah, of course, it's different. But I also, Tom Cruise was the brother. But to watch him go through the stages, I could really relate to that, even though Rain Man himself was a little different than Cal. And of course, he was a grown man.
Of course.
But yeah, the stages, though, I was like, yeah, I feel similar. I feel, it was interesting. I actually would recommend parents do that if you saw the movie before you were involved with this.
I still haven't seen Rain Man. I not so much anymore because I feel like the awareness around autism has grown so much that I've never had anyone say, oh, like Rain Man recently. When I talked about my brother, that was maybe like in the early 2000s. And then I was a kid, so I didn't know. But, it's interesting to see the depiction of autism in the media. Like we just rewatched Parenthood for the 3rd time. I love Parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen it, Mark, but
yeah.
And Max is on the spectrum. And it was really interesting to see how they portrayed that. And then how they also showed how it affected the family and the parents and the sister, which really, hit home for me. And so it's just interesting to see that development. But I love that you are also here being able to share the real side of what that experience is for you. So when you started this state program that will come in before your child is 3, do the autism screening, and then they'll help you decide what services are appropriate if you need to move forward with different therapies or any other programs.
It's a great filter system, again, especially for young parents who just are confused and hearing stuff from neighbors and family, and it all contradicts itself. So we were fortunate to have it for sure.
That's amazing. Well, how is Cal doing now? How has your journey developed over these past 7 years, and what has that looked like for your family?
I think overall, I would probably put it in the struggle column. It's interesting. When he first got diagnosed, I thought, wow, well, I think we can handle this. He's got some things, but nothing that we really can't handle. And then you have to understand that as they get older, right, you get stronger and the emotions are sharper, right? So his swings are a little bit more challenging for us. The thing is that it's a whole family challenge. So it's easy for me to look at it and say, I have to deal with this. This is my son. It's harder to look at my other kids, his siblings, and they're fantastic caregivers, have to give up a little bit of the innocence of childhood to help. That is hard for me to see. Probably the hardest thing, to be honest. Listen, we have great moments. We live by the beach. Cal loves the beach. That's like his place. So when we're there and sees dolphins and all the birds and everything, he loves it. He's happy. It's always good to be in that moment. But this is not easy. It's not easy. And for him, he'll live at home for his whole life. And so there is some kind of peace in knowing and understanding that. But at the same time, there is, I don't know if the word's anxiety or just maybe a little sadness to know that there's only so much you can do or he'll be able to do. So you just redefine the structure for him, which just looks different than the other kids. And this is the new life, and we have to adjust and adapt. And at the end of the day, he needs a caregiver 24/7, right? So in understanding that, you have to make the adjustments. And that's what you have to be. I mean, that's what a special needs parent is. I tell people to look at the word. It's not just needs, it's special needs. And so the parent has to be special because the child is special. So you got to dig and find that in yourself. And it's hard.
Your honesty is really refreshing. And I think that a lot of parents listening are going to feel that way because I think a lot of times we don't get to sit down and have that, hey, I'm struggling, are you conversation. And so I think it's sometimes nice because, on social media, we sugarcoat everything. It looks nice and we show the highlight reels. And sometimes having these hard conversations of, hey, we're really having to adapt here and it is affecting my family. I think a lot of families will feel really seen in that. I don't want to dig too deep, but I would love to keep this going. I mean, are there any challenges that you just didn't foresee coming or some challenges unexpectedly that you've had to navigate as a parent that you could share, and maybe even seeing the other end of it, maybe giving some parents hope, or if you're in it, that's fine too.
Yeah. So I think something to think about is there are interior challenges and exterior challenges. So interior challenges, like right now, not being potty trained at 7. That is something that I didn't have on the bingo card for 2024, and it's tough, right? So we have areas of it in our homes and on this continent that we go to the bathroom in our very developed society, and he doesn't recognize that. So you can understand then it's got to go somewhere and it goes everywhere. So it's hard. It's not just that, it's cleaning it up. It's all of that stuff. So that's challenging. The diet issues, you hear a lot about that, challenging, right? I always said if I write a book, it'll be called Funyuns for Breakfast.
My brother used to love Funyuns. That was a lost memory for me, but he loved Funyuns. He would dip them in yogurt, Mark. I don't know why he did that, but he loved it.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. Talk about sensory, but I forgot that memory until just now, but he would dip them and he loved it.
Yeah. Funyuns for breakfast, because there are many mornings I go out and, hey, Cal, good morning. You want breakfast? Yes, Funyuns. Funyuns? Okay. But then he'll have this little snack bag of Funyuns and he'll go, where's my broccoli? And I'm like, wow, we just went from Funyuns to broccoli. Like, it really is a spectrum.
I was going to say, also, of course, I'm putting on my dietitian cap and I'm like, okay, let's think of the sensory differences between Funyuns and broccoli. It's completely opposite sides.
100%.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, you have those moments. And so if you don't have one of those things or the broccoli is not necessarily steamed at the right texture, I mean, all of these things. So those are challenges, kind of the interior challenges. There's sleep issues, there's anger, there's transitions. And then you have the exterior challenges, right? Because this is what I tell people. You're alive 24 hours a day, hopefully, right? Like we're alive. And you don't live in your house the whole 24 hours. So you do have to go outside your house. And so then you have the exterior society that interacts and mingles with him as an autistic child, and then me and parents who are exhausted, frustrated, tired, stressed parents of autistic children. So, things like issues with the school system, going to doctors, like, why do I have to fill out 19 pieces of paper when I go to there's got to be a better way. I mean, you could do an NFL fantasy draft for 25 people in an hour, and it's good for the whole season, and it works. And this, you can't, it's crazy. So, yeah, you know what I mean? It's just everything, but it's interior and exterior. It's not like you leave the house and it gets better, or it's not like you're out and you're dealing with the school systems and all the stress and drama there. I'm going to go home and relax. I never say I'm going to go home and relax. All my friends say, I can't wait to go home and relax. I'm like, what are you talking about?
So one common thing that I also hear you saying, okay, there's the potty training, which comes along, or products have to come along with that. Then you have therapies that also cost money. It's like everything that you've shared too also really adds up when it comes to the affordability being a parent and also being able to access all of these extra services. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, you're right. So you become this really great researcher because you have to. You're not being paid to research, but you have to do it. Things like the potty training, like that's such a big thing in our audience, right? Because like I mentioned, that's kind of a sneak attack thing. That's kind of like, ooh, we're not going to the bathroom and we're 3. Like, I didn't think, how long will this last? And yeah, I post a lot of videos. I know you've seen some of them about Aeroflow Urology. So you talk about a resource, and somebody just sent us, like, you got to check out Aeroflow Urology. If you qualify, they'll send you diapers right to your door. And my wife's like, oh my gosh, we got to look into this. And my whole thing was, well, yeah, diapers to your door sounds great, but you're telling me all I have to fill out's like 5 little lines on a website, hit send, and then it's done? Because that never happens, right? So they're a great example. I mean, you think about like the price of diapers, right? Especially in this inflationary world we've been living in for like 4 years now. Diaper prices went through the roof. So for them to be able to kind of be that middleman to work out the price and to get them to you, delivered to your door. I have 5 kids, so I know about diapers, right? I'm a diaper expert. I know everything about diapers. A diaper run is never noon on a Wednesday. Emergency diaper runs happen. It's like the smoke alarm battery. It's 2 a.m. on a Saturday, right? When you run out of diapers, it's literally like 11 o'clock on a Friday night, and someone's got to run to the grocery store, and they're expensive. And so Aeroflow Urology is a great example. They deliver them to the door. Cost, they can cross it off, and then the emergency diaper runs cross it off. So those are little things. You have to have that awareness, that research IQ as a special needs parent, like what's out there. It's not going to find you, right? So you got to go, what's out there?
This is self-care as a parent too, because there's so many different things that are going through your mind all the time. Do we have diapers? Do we have this? Are we scheduled for therapy? Are we ready for the week? Do we have his IEP in place? And so being able to have one of those things that is done for you and you don't have to think about the expense as well, which is a whole nother topic, I think is really huge.
Yeah, I got a message not long ago, a woman, and she has twins, both on the spectrum. And she had just said, hey, I found Aeroflow Urology through, I think it was an Instagram post. And she was telling me that her diaper bill monthly was about equal to her car payment. Just twins on the spectrum, twins, right? So, and I'm like,
twins.
Like when you put it like that, my diaper bill is but because she got it all worked out through Aeroflow Urology. But I'm going, I think she's a single mom, she said, but how could your diaper bill almost be to your car payment? But twins, I mean, I get it. And so when you put it to that, like when you actually associate it with a real payment, like something else, and I'm like, that's just for diapers?
I have an almost 2-year-old right now, and then we're going to have a newborn in October. But it's like the diapers, I'm already expecting like, holy cow, this is going to be a lot of diapers. Well, thanks for sharing that resource. I mean, resources like that, I think, are really helpful for parents that, I mean, sometimes you don't have the time to just sit down and research on your own. Okay, how can I make this problem that I'm having a little bit easier? Because it feels like you're always so in it that you can never like get out of it, look at it from above and be like, okay, here's some things that I can research to make this a little bit easier. So it's nice to have parents like you who are like, hey, we've gone through this. We know resources that can make this a little bit easier. I do want to flip the switch a little bit, and I would love to hear some unexpected joys that you've had as a parent.
Yeah. And, it's funny to call it unexpected joys because that's really what it is, because you don't really plan on it. Like it's, there's no little league baseball games or going to the flag football game or whatever. So it really is, a couple of years ago, we went to a major league baseball game and we decided to take Cal because they had built a sensory suite in the stadium. And I'm like, should we try this? I don't know. Made it all 9 innings. He loved it. And actually, I think it was the first time that all 7 of us, we had to leave the dog at home, but all 7 of us went out and had fun. And, in like the middle of the game, I think somebody hit a home run. So they're doing fireworks. And I'm like, I forgot about the fireworks at the home run, So we went to the sensory. So it was great. He was cool. He loved it up there exploring. The other kids had fun. And then we were all there. It's little things like that. You have to be a little adventurous. You got to take some risks. But special needs parents are pretty good at having a backup plan. I feel like I'm pretty good at sort of like, here's plan A, here's plan B, here's C, and then here's the escape plan, right? So you have to do that. And I think, other than that, when we're all together and things are just good, my favorite days, honestly, are in the backyard and the pool. Everybody's there. Everybody's having fun. The weather's great. I know it sounds simple, but gosh, you lose all hope sometimes that anything could ever just be simple and peaceful and happy. And then so when you get it, it's like, wow, even though my expectation was low, the fact that we hit it pretty happy. It's happy to see. It's happy to be in that moment. I wish there were more of them, of course, but you take them when you get them.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's really an amazing thing. The seven of you, first of all, being able to have a great time. And speaking of those sensory rooms, I mean, I've seen those like pop up around the United States. I didn't even know that they would be inside of a baseball stadium. I mean, that's so cool. And I've seen them in airports. I've also seen sensory experiences pop up. I live in Boulder, Colorado, and the Denver Zoo has a sensory experience around their Christmas lights. And the splash pad that we go to has an hour that's a sensory friendly hour that is turned down water. And I just find all of these sensory experiences that are popping up that it's just allowing more flexibility and more opportunities for parents who have kids with additional sensory needs, just like you're sharing. I think that's just such a cool initiative. I don't know if you've noticed the same thing.
I have. Yeah. It's really becoming a trend in a lot of big venues, which is cool. Walmart did something the last couple of years for back to school shopping where they had sensory hours where I think it was like 7 to 9 in the morning. The lights were all down. There was no music. And all of the cashiers that were working that time were specially trained in probably what they were going to see, how to react or not react, and those kind of things. And I tell people, listen, that's not going to change the world. And that's okay. The fact that a big corporate giant like that would say, we really should offer something like that's good. That's good too. I don't expect anyone to solve my problems, to be quite honest with you. That's my issue. That's my job. But the fact that another entity, whether it's a stadium or a department store or whatever, would say, let's give it a shot. Let's see if it helps. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's great.
Me too. Me too. I completely agree with you. And kind of like you said, coordinating everyone going out, you have to be a little adventurous. I think opportunities like that also give you the extra urge to like, okay, let's do this. Let's get all seven of us out and let's go try it and see how it goes. Before we even started recording, we were talking about mindset as podcast host as well. And I just feel like you just have the right mindset that it's like, this is how it goes. We're just going to make the best of it. And, if plans change, then we're just going to go with it. And I think that that's one of the best mindsets that you can have as a parent, because we can plan all we want. And then nothing goes to plan.
Yeah. You read like motivational books. I don't do that stuff anymore. But I think one thing about being ready for the environment you're going into, there's such value in that. And a real world example is we used to try to take Cal out to eat because we love going out to eat. We live right by the beach. And so we love going to all the beach restaurants and everything like that. It usually didn't end right. So it was a mess. It was like we ordered our food and there was like a meltdown. We got to go. Like whatever. So now we'll sit down at the table. Okay. And the waiter or waitress will come up and we'll all order. And then we say, okay, but here's how we're going to do this. We want everything to come out in a to-go box and we're paying the tab right now. So what you've done there is you have already agreed to the divorce. If it has to happen, you don't have to go to court. What I mean by that is everything comes out. Now, look, people will look at us weird. They're like, gosh, they got their dinners all in these, styrofoam boxes and they're eating it. But if something happens, and usually there's a thing, and that's fine, we close our box and we walk out. We've already paid the bill. We've already tipped the waitress, and we've got everything we need, right? So no strings attached. So it's like little things like that. And then when you're there, you just feel better because it's like, okay, we understand that this might be a lot for him. There could be a trigger. There could be something. But let's not all get chaotic and rush and start waiting for the waitress. And it's like, hurry up, get boxes, this and that, because that's chaos for everybody. It's not fair to the people next to us. It's not, you know what I mean? It's like you've got to find a way to streamline everything from beginning to end. You've got to have the escape plan if needed. And those are like little changes that you make, in your family. But I say it's good for everybody. Like it helps him because it's a quicker exit, which is the most important thing. But everybody else who didn't come to see 7 people start freaking out and trying to, whatever. So it's good for everybody.
Thanks for sharing that. That's a great tip. I think a lot of parents will be like, okay, yes. I mean, it's good to be prepared. If you see that may be the outcome, it's going to make it easier for everyone. Absolutely. Well, I'm sure that I could ask you for a ton more tips like that, but I would also love you to share. You shared Aeroflow as a great resource for you so far. Are there other resources that you found that have made your experience as a parent with a child on the spectrum easier?
Yeah. I mean, I think as far as product base, I'll be honest, it's hard to find something that is streamlined as Aeroflow, right? Like it's a definite need. They have a definite solution. And the way that it gets to you, the delivery process, everything, that is hard to find. The way that their process is pretty much just 100%. I do a lot of research, right? So I always look at what programs the local governments are offering as far as like mainly events, like how can we get out? How can we do things and stuff like that? I'm always looking into health, right? What could we be doing from a health point of view? I mean, I'm in the rabbit hole now on prebiotics, probiotics, I mean, the whole thing, and I love it.
We'd have a lot to talk about.
I know we could do a series maybe on all of this, but you'll know I'll probably be asking you questions because.
I'd love to talk about it.
Yeah, I will say that's kind of a lacking thing is something as streamlined as Aeroflow. Like there's probably so many different segments that we could apply what they do in their process. But it's an evolution. It's a thing in progress. The best thing that I could ever do, and this is how we discovered Aeroflow, was talking to other parents. Because honestly, the thing about special needs parents, like we were talking earlier, they know it's like, I don't have to put lipstick on the pig. We are like just real tired, stressed. Like we don't even have time to play the game. So talking to other special needs, not just parents, siblings, I mean, people with the experience, I just feel like there's that natural desire to help you. Like if you called me one day and you needed something, I want to give you value because I know that you're in this, like you're in this sphere. So I almost feel like there's this brotherhood and sisterhood of people, of parents when they get together and it's like, no, I want to help you. Like I have a feeling you're going through some stuff and I want to help.
That is one of the best things that I've found as a parent, having a community of other people who understand exactly what I'm going through. Parenthood is hard, and trying to find all of those resources and having people being able to share that with you. I even find that sometimes people don't have community with them, like in person, but they're able to make that online. And I feel like there are a lot of online communities that are really supportive. I run one for nutrition, but it's really cool to see all of these like little hubs of communities, like for your podcast and for other groups of people who come together on one interest and they're really able to help each other out. So thank you for all the resources that you share for parents, because I know it's incredibly helpful. And on that note, I mean, as we kind of wrap up this episode, if you could go back in time and give yourself some encouragement as a new parent navigating autism, what would you say to yourself?
Ooh, that's a deep one.
I'm gonna hit you with the deep one as we
yeah. If I could go back, I think I would definitely say, look out for the whole family as well as Cal. I think that's where I've seen people get sideways in this. I went and spoke to a bunch of mayors and councilmen not long ago. And so I had to do a lot of research. And special needs parents, if you look at the divorce rates, the unemployment rates, drugs, alcohol, anxiety, depression, it's awful. I mean, it tears people apart. Kids are in the middle. Neurotypical kids are in the middle. And then, autistic kids are in the middle. And so I think the one thing I would say is you still have to look out for the whole family structure and everybody involved. And I think I've done a pretty good job of that. I'm telling you, there's so many temptations to just go, I don't have time for this. No, I'm not. I can't. I got to focus on this. And then when you do that, then something else starts to fall apart a little bit. Yeah. And I don't know if that's a great answer to your question, but I just think if I had to go back, I think I would tell myself, you have to still maintain the whole family as one, because at the end of the day, Cal is a part of a family. That's a big thing, is trying to be able to keep everybody on pace together.
And you've got 7.
Also. Well, I have 5, but I'm part of the 7.
Well, you're part of the 7. You're
yeah,
you count. You it's like for yourself as well, and your own personal care and all of that too. I think it's so easy for us to put our kids first, which is why we have kids. We want to put them first.
Yeah, but the number one thing I hear from parents is my health has gone to hell. I'm gaining weight. I'm eating terrible. I'm doing this. And so I get up and go to the gym every morning, right? And it's not about for how I look. I don't care. I'm getting old. It's about up here. It's like the 6 inches between my ears. That's why I go to the gym. And that's what I tell other parents that are in this situation. Keep yourself good. And by the way, if we don't take care of ourselves, who's going to take care of our kids?
Yeah.
It's first time I was on an airplane with my oldest, I'll never forget. And they come on, if we have an emergency and the oxygen masks fall, make sure you put yours on before you put your kids on. I'm like, God, that sounds terrible. Why would I do that? And I thought, well, if I don't save myself, who's going to save the kids? I call it the airplane oxygen mask theory. You have to remember that you've got to be able to take care of yourself so you can take care of your kids.
It feels backwards at first, and then when it clicks, you're like, that makes so much sense. Well, Marc, it's been really great talking to you today, and I'm sure many people want to continue the conversation with you. Can you share where people can find all of your resources? Because it sounds like you have many.
Yeah, it got overwhelming for me too. So I was like, if you just go to dailyautism.com, that's our link tree, dailyautism.com. And so whatever platform you're into, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then all the podcast platforms. We also have a autism text line for parents, which is on that as well. I asked myself the other day, how are we not communicating with people? Text. That's right. So we started that as well. And so we just try to be everywhere for everybody. Everybody's got their own thing that they want to do. Some people don't like algorithms and social media and they find them frustrating. And so with text, you don't have to worry about that.
That's fantastic. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with all of us and for sharing as many online, free resources that you do. I'm so impressed. I know how much time and energy that takes. So thanks for being here, Marc, and for the honest conversation. Like I said, it's really refreshing to have these types of conversations. So I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, you got it. Anytime, Brittyn. Thanks for your hard work. You've built up a great channel. And so thank you for making this all possible.
Oh, of course. And thanks everyone for tuning in. We will see you next week on the next episode of Nourishing Autism. Bye, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of Nourishing Autism. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd love to invite you to join us inside of the Nourishing Autism Collective, an empowering and supportive community for moms of kids on the autism spectrum to get nutrition and picky eating support from me and my team of autism dietitians, access my autism nutrition library, explore hundreds of kid-friendly recipes, connect with other moms on a similar journey, and learn from top autism experts like occupational therapists, speech therapists, and more. Come join us at nourishingautism.co. Also, if you enjoyed this podcast, I'd be so grateful if you shared it with a friend and gave it a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify podcasts so I can spread the word about nutrition for autism and reach more amazing families like you. See you next time.